Alright guys, so here we go again. We're going to practice solving systems by graphing and substitution. Now you should have this worksheet. I've done a little bit of this, but I'm going to go over some of it to kind of help refresh your memory. Also, towards the end I'll show you some answers so you can see if you did everything right. So these first few questions on the front, I believe we've done most of these, but I just want to make sure that you remember how to do them. So I'll do this one. Do number one, where we graph these two lines and find out where they cross. Okay, so let's say we graph this one, we'll graph that one in red. So we're gonna start at the y-intercept right there at +1 on the y-axis. Then you're gonna rise 3 and run 2. Now this is a positive slope, so when I rise 3, 1, 2, 3, I run 2 this way. I don't want to run 2 to the left because that would make it a negative slope. But if I run 2 to the right, my line will end up being positive with a slope like this. If I ran 2 to the left like that, the line would be negative slope. So I could also do the opposite, go down 3, still has a vertical change of 3, and to the left 2. Okay, you'll see that connect these points with this fancy ruler right here. And it looks something like this. Alright, now the other line is going to be here in blue. I will start at -4. This number in front of x is a 1. Make it a fraction by putting over 1. This slope is negative. So when I go down 1 and to the right 1, it makes my slope be negative. I can do the opposite. Go up to the left 1. Okay, up and to the left 1, up and to the left 1. And you'll see here that my slope is now negative. Slanting down like this is a negative slope. And the two lines cross at this point right here. The x coordinate is first, and the y coordinate happens to be the same number, but this is where they cross. Alright. Now sometimes lines cross and you get a point. Sometimes they don't cross and it's parallel lines, which means there's no solution. And sometimes the two lines are exactly the same line, which is infinite solutions. Alright. Now we've been having a few problems of converting things to slope-intercept form. So in this particular question, this is what you should probably do, is convert this into slope-intercept form. In which case you want to get the x's to go away on the left. That will cancel out. So on the left side, remaining would be a 4y. These two terms right here are not like terms, so we'll go ahead and just write them next to each other, not combining them. Divide every term by 4. And y would be a -3/4 x, and a negative over a positive is minus, or a negative. 16 over 4 is 4. So I graph this line at down here at -4. This is the y-intercept is -4. I want my slope to be a -3/4. So I'm going to go down 3 into the right 4. Going down 3 into the right 4 would make my slope be negative. But I ran out of space on this graph, so instead of going down 3 into the right 4, I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3 into the left 4. Like that. Still makes my slope negative. As you see here, when I connect these, the slope of this line is negative. Alright, slanting down from left to right, and what makes it negative. Now I'm going to graph this other line. First, I got to convert this into slope-intercept form. Okay, a very common mistake is that after you've subtracted 3x, a lot of people would just put 4y. But that's wrong because this is now gone. They canceled out. It's a -4y that's remaining. It was minus, now it's -4y. Divide by -4, divide by -4, divide by -4. Okay, so now you have y equals, when you do this part right here, it's negative over negative, which therefore makes it a positive slope. Once again, you got negative over negative, therefore makes it a positive y-intercept of 8 divided by 4 is 2. I'll start up here at +2. My positive slope means I'm going to go up 3 and to the right 4. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. Connecting these, you'll see that it's a positive slope. I could also go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the left 4, it'll be right there. Okay, this is all something you should be relatively familiar with. Write down your ordered pair as your answer. Okay, where those two cross, the x coordinate's first, -4. The y coordinate is next, it's -1. There's your answer. Alright, now let's move on to solving by substitution. And I'm only going to go through about half of these questions. I'll stick with the left half here. Your first step, if you recall, is to get a variable all alone. Now, luckily, both of these already have the y all by itself. So it doesn't really matter which one I use. If y is this, I will take it then and plug it into the other equation for that variable. Y is equal to all this stuff. So when I substitute, I'm replacing the y with what it's equal. Okay, so this y is the same as -6x plus 12. And I'm going to put that equal to this thing. So I just replaced this y. Okay, you could also think of it as y is equal to -6x plus 12 and y is equal to x minus 9. If y is both of these, then that means the y's must be equal to each other. Okay, then we're going to do some math and try to get x all alone. Okay, you should be relatively decent at this by now. I like to get rid of smaller amount of x's. That would leave 12 over here. This is 7 x's minus 9. Now I'm going to isolate the x over there. So 7 x's is remaining on this side. Okay, 12 plus 9 is 21. Divide by the 7 to get the x all alone. And that would mean that x is 3. Now, a lot of people might stop here, but you're not done. The goal is to figure out x and y. So we're going to put this back into either equation for x, this one or that. It doesn't matter. Looks like the bottom one might be a little bit easier. So when we substitute into the equation y equals x minus 9, once again I'm putting it back into x. This variable is now becomes 3 minus 9, which is -6. So the y value is -6. Write your answer again as an ordered pair, and your answer should be 3 for the x, -6 for the y. We'll do the same thing here on number 7. Your first goal is to make sure that a variable is all alone. Well, look at this. Y is all alone. It is equal to 7x plus 15. So in the first equation, I'm going to replace the y, right there, this y, with 7x plus 15. All right, so let me rewrite this. Let me zoom in a little bit. -8, -x minus 8y equals -6. Once again, this is what y equals. Y is all of this stuff. So whenever I see y, I just don't write y, but put what y is. So -x minus 8. I'm not going to write y. I'm going to put what's the same as y. 7x plus 15. Okay, and from there, I can do the algebra and figure out x. Make sure you recognize that you're distributing a -8. So right here, -8 times 7, -8 times 15. This will make -56x. -8 times 15 makes, let's see, this is 100. Let's see, 8 times 15 would make 40, 120. So sorry, -120. Okay, everything else is still the same. Combine some like terms. These two are both x's. We can put those together. So this is -1x and -56x, which makes -57x minus 120 equals -6. I want to get the x's alone. And I got -57x equals, combine the like terms here, -6 plus 120. There's way more positive, so this answer is going to be a positive 114. Next, you would divide by the number in front of x. Okay, so that would get the x all alone. X will equal, this is probably going to be 2. And actually it's a -2 because this is a positive 114 divided by negative 57. The answer is going to be negative 2 for x. Okay, so we saw what x is. Now we got to plug it back in and figure out what y is. Okay, so into either one of the original two equations, that's step 3 is to plug it back in to figure out y. You could plug it into here and do some algebra and figure out y there, but that would be significantly harder than plugging it back into this x, and y is already alone, so you just got to do a little bit of math there. So y equals 7x plus 15. We're going to take what x is and plug it right into there. Okay, 7 times negative 2. We'll continue with plus 15. This is negative 14 plus 15. Y equals 1. All right. Now write your answer as an ordered pair. X is first, negative 2, and then y is next, 1. This is your answer. This is how you should write it. Answers like that. Okay, negative 2, comma 1. All right, let's scroll down. We'll go to the next one, number 9. So in this case, nothing is already all alone. There's no variable that's already all by itself on one side. Like on this, we had y already alone on one side. Up here, we already had both the y's already alone on one side. And it doesn't have to be y by the way. It could also be x by itself. But on number 9, neither of these equations have a variable all alone. If that's the case, you have to solve for either x or y. Now you want to pick the easiest one to solve for, and if there's a 1 as a coefficient, which is a number in front of a variable, then that's probably going to be easiest to solve for. So I'm going to pick this equation, and I'm going to get the y all alone. Okay, so what I'm going to do is subtract 6x from one side, subtract 6x from the other side. That will leave 1y equals negative 6x plus 18. Okay, you don't need the 1, so it's just y equals negative 6x plus 18. And then it's important that you remember you plug it into the other equation, not the one you're working with, but we're going to put it into the other equation. So I'm going to put it into this y right here. Y is all of this stuff. This is, I now know what y is. I can replace it in the other equation and find out what x is. Now after you do your substitution, so I'm going to go ahead and write down the first equation, 2x plus 5. I'm replacing the y with all this stuff that is y. Okay, negative 6x plus 18. After you do your substitution, as we've done on the other two questions, there should only be one variable. So there's only x's. If you notice here, there's only x here. There is no more y's. That's the whole point. We're replacing the y's with what it equals, and it should be equal to some stuff with x in it. Or the other way around. I mean, in this case, it works out the same as the first two. Alright, so let's make sure you distribute. So this 5 times 6, this 5 times the 18. Okay, so I got 2x. 5 times 6 makes negative 30x. And 5 times 18. Well, I don't remember 5 times 18 off the top of my head. I could probably figure it out, but 5 times 18 is 90. Okay, so both positives is going to be plus 90. It's negative 22. Going to combine my like terms. These two, you're doing 2 minus 30, or positive 2 and negative 30. Either way, you have a lot more negatives, so it's going to be negative 28x right there. Plus 90 equals negative 22. Okay, I'm trying to get my x's all alone, so I'm going to subtract 90. Subtract 90 here. This is negative 28x equals, let's see, this would be negative 112. Hope I did this right. So let's see. 112 divided by 28 is 4. Okay, this is a negative divided by a negative, that means x is going to be positive 4. Fantastic. Looks like we're doing all right so far. Now I take this x equals 4 and I plug it into one of the original two equations, or what would also be its equivalent. So I could put it in this equation here, could put it in this equation here, but I've also converted that second one to this equation here. They're the same thing. So I'm going to put it in this one. This would be the easiest one to get my y value. Okay, so when I converted, I came up with y equals negative 6x plus 18. And I'm going to take this and put it back into x right there, so I can figure out y. Y is equal to all that stuff, negative 6x plus 18, but in this case x is 4 plus 18. This is negative 24 plus 18. Okay, you got more negatives than positives, negative 24 and plus 18. In fact, you have 6 more negatives than positives. Okay, so this is part of your answer. So is this. Write your answer as an ordered pair. X is first, 4. Y is next, negative 6. There's your answer. Okay, we can also check it by plugging it back into the original equation. Erase all this junk over here. Erase all that stuff. And if you wanted to, you could put in 4 for the x right there and negative 6 for the y right there. And it should come out to be negative 22. I could put 4 in right here and negative 6 right there, and it should come out to be 18. And it has to be true for both of them. It has to both work. If it only worked for one, I didn't do it right. Okay. We'll go ahead and check the answers. I'll go ahead and show them to you. So let's see. My screen is taking forever to load. There's the first two on the graphing. It said parallel lines over here towards the right. No solution. Find out where they cross. Make sure that when you convert, you graph it correctly. There's number 4. Give me a chance to look at that. Here's some more answers for you. Okay, number 9 I just did. I came up with 4, negative 6. Number 7, earlier we came up with negative 2, 1, and 3, negative 6. Okay, so that's all that work that I just did. Let's see, negative 2, 1, 3, negative 6. Okay, so we're doing stuff right so far. And the last, I'll do one more. Okay, in this case, it's a little bit different than the others. We're looking at number 11 now. You want to solve for a variable. Okay, get a variable all alone. Now, do you want to solve for this x? Sorry, this x, this y, this x, or this y? Which one's going to be the easiest? Well, probably would be easiest to do the variable that has no coefficient, or rather the coefficient is 1, I should say, which is this variable right there. All right, so that's what I'm going to solve for. That's the one I'm going to get all alone. So I'm going to try and get this x all alone, which means subtracting the 7y. That should be y. Okay, different than the other ones, this time we're getting x alone. These cancel out. Negative 7y minus 11. Okay, so now I figured out what x is equal to. X is equal to all this stuff. Put it in your first equation, or the other equation rather. I'm not going to put it back into this one. I'm done with that one. Okay, I'm going to put it back into here, right here. This is what x equals. X is equal to all this nasty stuff right here. So 4x minus 6y equals negative 10. And actually, sorry, I should put 4x, which is negative 7y minus 11, and minus 6y equals negative 10. So all I did was replace that. Now distribute both of these terms. Some of you aren't distributing both of these. That should be a negative 28y. 4 times a negative 11 makes negative 44. Minus 6y equals negative 10. Combine some like terms right here. These two like terms. Negative y and negative 6. That makes negative 34y. So we got a minus 44 on that side equals negative 10. Okay, now get my y's all alone. So I'm going to add 44 to both sides. That cancel out. Negative 34y equals positive 34. So y should be -1. Most of the way done. Plug it back into one of the original two or what would be equivalent. So we'd either have this one here, this one there, or equivalent to this second one is this thing. That's going to be the easiest one because x is already all alone in this one. Okay, so I'm going to use that one. I'll write it over here. X is equal to -7y minus 11. And I'm going to take this thing and plug it into y right there. Okay, so replacing the y with -1. Everything else is the same. X equals -7 times the -1 minus 11. Therefore, that's +7 minus 11. This equals -4. Okay, write my answer as an ordered pair. Make sure your x is first, -4, and then -1. Okay, let's make sure that's right. Scroll down a little bit, give my computer a chance to catch up. Not sure why I'm moving so slow. There we go. Come on, computer. Come on, computer. Okay, well, doesn't look like it wants to catch up. There we go. Anyway, there's the answer there. -4, -1. Okay, here's some more. These last two, these are challenge questions. They're really tough. You're going to have some fractions involved when you convert them, or I'm sorry, when you solve for x or y. Notice how nothing has a nice 1 as a coefficient. It's going to make it a little bit more challenging. I did that on purpose. I want you to give it a shot. I know it's going to be a little bit difficult, but you can do it. I'm sure you can. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, and we'll go over it next class. Okay, but there you go. All right, so I'm leaving you to do the rest of these. Okay, I would recommend, on this one, I'm sorry, not that one, number 10 here, solve for the variable that has 1 as the coefficient. So this one has a -1, this one has a 1. I'd try to get the x by itself by adding the y. Same idea here. Pick which one of these, this one, this one, this one, or this one. Which one has a 1 as a coefficient? Okay, you think about it. Okay, and like I said, 14 is a little bit of a challenge. You've got all the answers, giving you a lot of work. Sorry the video turned out so long, but hopefully that helps. All right, good luck.